Today is the day we find out, can you beat Fallout 4 with only power armor? For this challenge, I'm only allowed to do damage by punching someone in power armor pain train or shooting out fusion cores, but I didn't get high enough level to shoot out fusion cores throughout this campaign. So, yeah. I'll make my own video about ejected fusion cores. It sounds fun. Anyway, after watching the vault get nuked entirely, I then left and helped Paladin dance with his little mission, so I can join the Brotherhood later on. After that fiasco, I was out and about. I went over and, well, asked to save Nick Valentine because he needed saving. And her secretary agreed to let me help. So I ran into them with Pain Train to do some damage, and I just fisted them down. And if things seem out of order a little bit, I actually did lose a couple recordings, but not much happened. All that happened was it showed me finding this power armor and building a water farm to get fusion cores. So that's really all you missed. And I was too lazy to go back and re-record everything just for that. So yeah, Pain Train actually did quite a bit of damage on these triggermen, but honestly, Pain Train is not really that good, especially when you get up to higher levels. I mean, it takes forever to level up Pain Train, so it's basically kind of useless. So after dealing with some triggermen and having my power armor almost be completely destroyed, I talked to Nick Valentine. And Nick Valentine told me that we're gonna have to kill Skinny Malone. So I went off to fight Skinny Malone, and I beat up his girl. But don't worry, I am a woman, so therefore I can hit a woman. So YouTube cannot cancel me, at least not yet. After dealing with Dyla, it was time for me to deal with Skinny Malone myself, which he wasn't that hard to deal with, but he did take a lot more hits than I was expecting. But to be fair, I only had one in unarmed, and I can only punch him with power armor, and he's supposed to be a boss anyway, so I guess that all clears out. After brutally beating him to death, it was time for me to get actual good armor, so I went to Concord to grab the power armor. Now, I could have done that from the very beginning of the game, but I didn't because, well, I don't know. I honestly don't know why I did it. Seriously, I went and grabbed a power armor that was almost completely broken instead of getting the one in Concord. Which, yeah. After that, I went back and talked to the mayor. He didn't give me the key. This is the first time I wasn't able to talk anyone to give me the key. The mayor said no, and his secretary said no. So, since they both said no, and I couldn't kill them and take it, sadly, because Fallout 4 is whack like that, yo, I had to use some lockpick to get the key for myself. Now, thankfully, they didn't upgrade the lock at all, because if I needed anything in the lockpick to get it, I wouldn't be able to get it. I guess they did that so you could not fail to get the key. After that, I walked into Kellogg's house, stole his cigars to smoke them, and it was off to time to find Kellogg, the man who killed my wife, which the recording didn't show because I lost the recording for that. Sorry about that again. After that, I found a Deathclaw, or should I say a Deathclaw found me and tried to brutally murder me. But don't worry, I was able to take care of this Deathclaw. It wasn't easy. Luckily, I had tons of water because I had a water farm to buy fusion cores. The Deathclaw honestly could have gone down easy if he didn't keep grabbing me and throwing me down. But after a few well-placed hits and some circling around him, the Deathclaw was defeated, and I felt like one heck of a badass. As dog meat took me to Fort Hagen, it was time for me to put down some synths. And the synths honestly went down pretty easily. Now, they did take quite a few hits, but with Pain Train actually doing way more damage on synths, for some reason, I don't know why it did so much damage on them, it actually made things a lot easier. So I would just run into them and just smack them with my power armor. Run and smack, run and smack, run and smack, and repeats. And the synths went down like, well, I don't know, like a fat man who falls off a chair. I don't know what goes down. It's just, you can come up with your own comment down below. Anyway, after that, it was time for me to fight Kellogg. And with my power armor almost completely gone, I hit some jet and I ran in and punched him straight in the face. My plan was to go straight for Kellogg and ignore the synths. However, Kellogg has this little B move where he likes to turn invisible, which really pisses me off. As I hit another piece of jet, I then tried to punch him, but he turned invisible, which he's not too hard to see when he's invisible, but when you're getting shot at from a bunch of directions, it's kind of hard to see. So, after trying to beat him up but couldn't really find him, I then changed my strategy. My new plan was to take down all the synths, then take down Kellogg, because Kellogg was being a little a-hole and trying to, well, run away. And even though I ran away to heal. So I guess that makes me kind of a hypocrite, but we're not going to question that. After destroying his synths, I eventually managed to find him and lead him down. as he could do nothing but run away and take pot shots at me as I continued to beat at him with my fist, hoping that he will eventually die. And I'm not going to lie, it did take me quite a while to beat him all the way down. This is probably one of the most challenging Kellogg fights I've ever done in a challenge. Not because it was hard or I died, but because of how long it took. But eventually, even though he kept healing, even though he kept running away, I eventually managed to corner him down and beat at him more and more and more until he finally bit the big one. So, shoutouts for me for finally killing Kellogg. And I did it in VATS, which honestly, I kind of had way more AP than I usually do in a character, which helped out a lot. And I don't even know why I usually do low AP. It really never helps me having it that low. But we're not going to think about that. After that, I walked out and saw the penguin fly in, and I went inside of Kellogg's mind to find out the truth about the Institute. And the truth was, well, the Institute in fact used, wait for it, teleportation. Oh my god, I never would have thought that in a million years. And for some reason, I could see my invisible self throughout this whole cutscene, which normally isn't a thing, so I don't know why that was. After that, I went to Elder Maxon because it was time to help him clear out Fort Strong, because I wanted to side with the Brotherhood, considering this entire challenge about me only using power armor. And what faction has power armor? If you said the Brotherhood, you're correct. And if you said any other faction in the game, what is wrong with you? I guess you could have said the Enclave, but the Enclave's not a major faction, and they're only added recently, so we're not counting them. Anyway, I then had to lure this super mutant behemoth into a wall, glitch him through, and punch him. And I've tried this 6 times, but every time it didn't work, until eventually, after trying to lure him into a wall and have him glitch through, eventually it worked. I don't know how it worked the 6th time and not all the other times. Everyone else I saw do this trick, they got it on the first try, so I don't know why it took me so long, but eventually I got it. And after luring him into a wall and beating him up, I waited for him to get to 1 health, then I ran into him and punched him down. And I even leveled up in the process. After that, I had to clear out some super mutants in Fort Strong, but considering that they're not giant and 30 times my size compared to the other super mutant, this was actually pretty easy. At least compared to the behemoth, but yeah, I guess that's not saying much. When you have to fight a behemoth with your bare fist, it's not really that fun. Anyway, I managed to clear out these super mutants. Then, after helping the Brotherhood, I went to the Golden Sea to find my boy Virgil, because Virgil needed some help. After I went to Virgil, I told him that, hey, I wanted to help him out, and he said okay, so he sent me to kill a courser. And well, these gunners weren't nothing. Like seriously, I really thought this challenge would be a lot harder. I know I have power armor on, but I can only use that to fight. But power armor does a lot more damage than I thought I could. I mean, sure, I did have a lot of strength, and I did have an arm perked, but I really didn't think it would do that much. But apparently, I was very, very wrong, which I am very happy about. Anyway, the courser tried to turn invisible, but since he's not Kellogg and didn't have a bunch of synths attacking me at once, I was able to find him because I found the spot where a giant blue laser kept coming at me. So, all I had to do was repeatedly punch him until he died, which is a great strategy, you know, just punch, punch, punch. Eventually, I found, while fighting the courser, I found that heavy attacks with your fists, like uppercuts, do way more damage than normal attacks. I knew that, but I didn't know the extent of the damage. So after fighting the courser, I learned how powerful uppercuts were. And since I had way more AP than I usually do, I relied on uppercuts after fighting the courser through most of the challenge. Which is, yeah. Anyway, after uppercutting the courser to death, I then went and talked to the synth that the courser captured. And I decided to do the right thing and destroy it because machines don't have souls. And I would tell it to go to hell, but sadly it doesn't have a soul. So all I could really do is punch the machine to death. After destroying the machine, I went to find the railroad. And like I said before, machines don't have souls. So since they were helping machines that don't have souls, I decided to send them all straight to hell where the railroad deserves. For the Brotherhood! Ad Victoria! I screamed as I fisted everyone to death. I need to not say I'm fisting people, because that could get misinterpreted. Anyway, Gloria was actually more of a challenge than the courser was. Well, at least when it comes to damaging her. She didn't damage me nearly as much, but when it came to taking his damage, she actually was a pretty good heavy. However, luckily for me, I managed to knock the minigun out of her hand really quickly. So after that, all I had to do was just keep on punching her until she died. After that, I went down to the Railroad HQ and decided to murder all these guys. If you wonder why I murder the Railroad every run, it's because, well, the Brotherhood and Institute demand that they die. So if you kill them early on, the Railroad battle's way easier for the Brotherhood, and the Institute, you don't even have to fight the Railroad. So yeah, it's basically killing things before you're told to kill them. After that, I had the Brotherhood take me to the Institute. I met my fake boy Sean, but he was a robot, which pissed me off, but you know, it is what it is. After that, I spoke with Father, and I agreed to help Father, but I lied because I'm getting the Brotherhood ending. So I went to Proctor Ingram. Proctor Ingram wanted some evidence what happened to Virgil, so I had to fight a robot to get that evidence, which was not fun at all. By the way, this fight almost killed me, but luckily I managed to dodge the laser last second. After getting some evidence that Virgil didn't die, Proctor Ingram agreed to follow me out. After that, it was time for me to get some magnets for Liberty Prime. And I want you to watch this, because this has never happened to me. Now, usually, these super mutants with Fat Mans, I hate them, and I hope they never come back, and I hope they're not in Fallout 5, because they're the most annoying creatures in the entire game, besides, Cazadors in Fallout New Vegas. But I managed to kill him without him hitting me with the mini-nuke, which I've never been able to do that with just melee. I usually have to shoot his hand. But yeah. After dealing with that super mutant with the mini-nuke and not blowing up and dying, which surprised the hell out of me, I then had to fist some super mutants. Pause. As I fisted them to death, things were actually going quite easy for me. These super mutants were a lot stronger than the ones at Fort Strong. However, since I dealt with them one at a time, luring them in, it really wasn't that difficult. The most difficult thing was the block, because I couldn't really stop them from blocking. I could try running into them with a pain train, which stopped them from blocking for a while, but if we were really up close, I really couldn't stop the block. I just had to beat them to death. And eventually I got tired of that, so I just ran over there and grabbed the magnets and then ran the F out. After that, I placed the magnets down for Liberty Prime, because Liberty Prime loves his magnets. After that, it was time for me to get some nukes for Liberty Prime. So, to do that, I had to fight some ghouls. But it wasn't that hard. Since I got the rooted perk, I just stood still and beat them up. It was nice. With the rooted perk helping me out and my unarmed perk helping me out, it was easy for me to deal with them. After that, I walked into this Adam cultist, didn't want to hear what he had to say, so I just beat him up. After killing this crazy cultist, it was time for me to fight an Attacktron, which my uppercuts actually did a good amount of damage to. So all I had to do is rely on my uppercuts and not get shot by its giant laser, because a giant laser could destroy my power armor, and I don't feel like repairing it because, well, actually repairing it's not that big of a deal, but I just didn't feel like doing it. But I managed to dodge its laser and uppercut it to death because I am a bad mother effer, because I am cool. And I also almost died, but luckily I was saved with Nerd Rage, which is a great perk. If you have high intelligence, I highly recommend you get Nerd Rage, because this is my first time ever getting Nerd Rage, because it just has the same effects of Jet, but it lasts longer, and you get it right before you die, but I still feel like Nerd Rage is pretty cool. It also makes you do more damage, so it's kind of like a better Jet. Anyway, then I had to murder Paladin Dance because he was a robot, and like I said before, robots don't have souls, add Victoria. Then I had to destroy the railroad. Even though I already destroyed them, they still make you do this quest where you battle the railroad underground. But luckily, the railroad isn't as tough if you destroy them early on. After that, it was time for me to do the nuclear reaction core, where I had to battle some synths. But luckily, my giant metal hand destroyed their metal, because power armor metal is stronger than Sith metal, which is cool, I suppose. I don't really know. As I was able to destroy all the synths because power armor is overpowered. Well, power armor and unarmed is overpowered. A great combination, by the way. Also, I never really used the power fist in Fallout 4, even though I used it all the time in New Vegas. I don't know why I'm bringing it up now, just figured I would bring that up, because, well, I don't really know why. The power fist in Fallout 4 looks cool also. But yeah, after beating some synths to death, I was able to get the nuclear reactor, but now it was time for me to battle giant robots. Luckily for myself, that killing these robots weren't that hard. Sure, it took a while, but with patience and well-aimed dodges. Also, Proctor Ingram helped out a lot because her laser pistol did a lot of damage. And no matter what I did, Proctor Ingram had to come along, so that doesn't count as a failed challenge.
So yeah, F that if anyone said I failed the challenge because Proctor Ingram helped. Anyway,
one thing I'll say about the Brotherhood ending, it's a lot easier than Institute ending, considering the final battle, and in nuclear fusion, Proctor England does a lot more help than the Institute does. So yeah, that's good. After wiping her out, I decided it was time for me to get some power armor before the last battle, because I wanted the Enclave power armor. There is a much better Enclave power armor, but I decided just to defeat the ambush and get the second best one, because, well, why not, you know? I was almost into the game, and I wanted to finish this quickly, because I wanted it out by tomorrow, which, if you're watching this right now, then that means I got it out by tomorrow. If you're not watching this, then you'll never see this video, and none of this will ever be heard by a single person's ear, and I might as well have never done any of this, because life doesn't really matter. Anyway, after getting Liberty Prime working, I then jumped in a hole and led the battle straight to the Institute. The Institute tried to fight me, but they couldn't really do much considering that I was so much more powerful than they were. I also got to fight gorillas to the death, which was fun, you know? I like fighting gorillas. Very fun. I say fight, but for some reason they went after Elder Maxon, who took 50 gorilla punches to the face, but when I punch him, he dies instantly, so I don't really know how that works. After that, I met my son, murdered him, and then I set the Institute to blow up sky high, and proved once and for all, yes you can beat Fallout 4 with only power armor. I hope you all enjoyed this video, but before I leave it off, I finally got upgraded to level 26, and I was mad that I didn't get to use it throughout any of the game, so I decided to leave Elder Maxon a final gift before I left, a free fusion core. After dropping a fusion core and running out, I watched him die and proved that I can beat the game with only power armor.